Welcome back to the 13 ranks of Halloween. Hold on a second. Go for Adam. It's April? So I'm way late. Okay. Guess we'll deal with that. Yeah, I could eat. Oh man, is that the vegan place? Yeah, man, I'm sorry, I'm kind of souped out. Okay, just a latte then. Okay, just a latte. Alright, thanks. Yeah, folks, sorry about that phone call. It's April. Resident Evil. While I played my fair share of video games growing up, Resident Evil is the series that made me love video games. The challenging puzzles, the strategic gameplay, the memorable characters, everything about this series intrigued me from the start. So today we're going to take a look back and rank all the main entries in the series. This includes the 8 original numbered entries, the 3 remakes, and Code Veronica. Code Veronica is technically the true Resident Evil 3, so that's going to be on here. I'm excluding side games like the Revelation series, as well as games like Gaiden, Dead Aim, and Survivor. I think I should also note that the only game on the actual list I don't enjoy playing is the one at number 12. And even then, I don't consider it the worst game in the series. That would be this. Survivor is the bottom of the barrel piece of shit that no one asked for, and is without a doubt the worst RE game, as well as one of the worst games I've ever experienced, period. So if you want to know what I think of the worst RE game is, there you go. It's Survivor. Fuck that thing. So with that out of the way, let's rank the 12 main entries in the Resident Evil game series. At number 12 is Resident Evil 6. This is where the action completely took over the series. There was next to no horror elements whatsoever, aside from the fact that zombies and ridiculous-looking monsters were indeed in it, and featured probably the most incoherent gameplay I've ever seen in my life. This is a game on ADD. It doesn't know what kind of game it wants to be and shoves every game mechanic at you like a kitchen sink to the face. I beat it with Leon and I beat it with Jake, but I lost interest about 45 minutes into Chris's campaign, as I knew I was in for nothing but a bunch of Call of Duty Michael Bay BS. It also eliminates one of the things that always made this series great, the idea of strategy. Now, I don't even need strategy. I don't even need a gun. I can just stomp zombies to death. What is even the point? Now, if there's one thing I will give this game, it's that I actually do like the story, and the cutscenes are gorgeous and well acted. I think those elements actually make the game stand out. I thought it was clever to have the children of the 2 assholes who started this whole thing to be the ones who stopped it. It was rather poetic in my opinion, and I really loved seeing Sherry Birkin back. It really gave her and Jake a perfect parallel, trying to come to grips with who their respective fathers were and seeing how much of their parents actually rubbed off on them.
Your father's actions have nothing to do with you.
Yeah, but his blood does. It's the whole reason why we're even here. I mean, come on. You really think that crazy doesn't run in the family? That nothing of who my father was didn't somehow get passed on down to me? You of all people should know that's true.
To me, that's the best thing about this whole experience. So yeah, in terms of story, I don't have many complaints, and if you can find the cutscenes on YouTube, I'd recommend watching them, especially the awesome confrontation between Jake and Chris. But as a gaming experience, this is one you can definitely skip. At number 11 for me is the original Resident Evil. Now, I want it known, I love this game. I have so many fond memories of playing it. It's the game that got me into the series, and I owe it a lot. I'll even say that while the acting in the game is horrible, as is the dialogue, it's good to play for a laugh now and then because of it. No one can forget the Jill sandwich line.
That was too close. You were almost a Jill sandwich.
You're right.
God, that's amazing. Oh god, the acting's so bad. That being said, after the remake for this came out, this was kind of hard to play again. I mean, once they crafted this masterpiece, it was kind of hard to revisit the original. It's still fun to play every now and then, but it's really aged. And being that almost every mainline entry after it was a better experience overall, it had to end up at the number 11 spot. So, to be clear, it's a game that shows its age, but has a lot of personality. And if you have the means to play it, I'd recommend it for a good nostalgia trip. Now we're at number 10, and this is where people are going to start hating me, but it's my list and I do what I want, damn it. At number 10 for me is Resident Evil 4. Let me explain! Let me give you some context here. I know many people love this game. I know many people consider it the best in the series, and if you do, good for you. I bought this game back in the day when it was only for GameCube, and when I got this game, I played this game and that was it. For almost a year and a half, this was really all I played. Like the original RE, I have many fond memories of playing Resident Evil 4. I love the atmosphere, I love the look of the game, I think Leon's badass, and the boss fights, for the most part, are pretty solid. That being said, some months back I started playing all the games I had for the GameCube again, just for nostalgic reasons. However, when I got to this game, it surprisingly didn't do much for me anymore. I loved playing the other ones and had a blast, but I found myself kind of bored playing this one. Protecting Ashley's useless existence is still a pain in my ass, Lewis is still as irritating as ever, and the setup for the game is kind of ridiculous, even for Resident Evil. Even by those standards, it's kind of bizarre. The president's daughter has been kidnapped by a cult on an island. Send one guy with a handgun. Okay. And I'd really like to know how Leon went from rookie cop to defending the president in the span of 6 fucking years. But here's the thing. I could overlook all of this if it wasn't for one thing. When you really think about the main storyline of Resident Evil, the actual progression that was happening, what does this really add to it, aside from the lost Plagueis? You could argue that it shows Ada is still alive, but if you've played the B scenarios for RE2, you already knew that. RE4, make no mistake, is not a bad game at all. It just feels more like a side story than an actual progression, like a Revelations game. There's nothing wrong with that, but when you think about the storyline, if you went from Code Veronica, skipped 4 altogether, and went straight to 5, you wouldn't miss jack shit. I'm sorry if it seems like I'm being overly negative, but all these new things just hit me when I started playing this game again. I wasn't mad or miserable playing it, I simply just didn't enjoy it as much as I used to, and I can't sit here and lie about my opinion to all of you. If you love this game, great. If you consider it the best in the series, awesome, more power to you. I just think it's a bit overrated. That's just my opinion, and I'm sticking to it. At number 9 for me is Resident Evil 5. Now, I'll be honest, this game had the exact opposite effect on me that RE4 did. When I first started playing this game back in the day, I didn't really care for it. However, when I played it a few months ago, I was surprised at how much I really loved playing it. It was a royal pain in the ass at times, and yeah, the ending of Chris punching a boulder is one of the most ridiculous things I've ever seen. I mean, ever. But what this game emulates so well from RE4 is the atmosphere, the locations, the surroundings, the enemies looming at every corner, and even the puzzles really gave the game that RE feel for me. It is a bit too action heavy at times, but hell, after playing RE6, the action in here actually feels tame. I loved the story progression for Code Veronica with Chris and Wesker. I loved the idea of Wesker controlling Jill and using Jill against Chris just out of spite. Yeah, how Wesker goes out is beyond ridiculous, but given how much the character has survived at this point, what other way did you honestly expect him to go out? I also loved the dynamic between Chris and Sheva. I love their interactions together, with Chris being apprehensive about taking on a new partner. Given the flashbacks we see, this gives Chris a great character arc on top of finishing his arc with Wesker. The gameplay is sometimes too sporadic, but it is very fun. Whereas I feel RE4 is overrated, I consider RE5 to be very underrated. If you get a chance, take what I've said into account and revisit the game. It isn't perfect, but it provides a cool story progression for the series and features fun gameplay. you know, before 6 ruined it. At number 8 for me is Resident Evil 7. There are people that love this game, and there are people who hate this game. I'm honestly somewhere in the middle of that. RE7 took the series back to its roots with horror-centric gameplay, complete with strategy and puzzles and all those wonderful things that I love in a Resident Evil game. And I'm not exaggerating when I say this, playing this game in VR is one of the scariest experiences I have ever had, period. This game is beyond scary, and oozes with atmosphere at every corner, and I love it for that. However, the game kinda loses me on 3 specific aspects, and before you say anything, no it wasn't the molded, no it wasn't the storyline, and no, it's not the characters. I honestly found all of that engaging. First is a nitpick, Chris's redesign. He looks nothing like we last saw him. He doesn't even have the same facial structures. How the hell is this Chris? Yeah, he looked massive in RE5, but that actually made sense. Keep in mind, Wesker wiped the fucking floor with him in Code Veronica, so him buffing up to try and match Wesker physically makes sense within the context of the main storyline. Here, seeing him like this is just bizarre. How did you think this was gonna pass for either one of these? My second complaint is the boss battles. And for the record, I want to be poetic about this. They just suck. The boss battles are kind of a joke, if I'm being honest, and the weakest aspect of the gameplay for me. But my third and final gripe, and I know this is just personal preference, I hate first-person gameplay. There, I said it! When I play a Resident Evil game, I want to see my fucking character, even if it's just over the shoulder. The first-person gameplay is honestly the reason I don't replay this game often. I mean, it's creepy in VR, as I said, but without it, it's just irritating and headache-inducing for me. Again, that's just my opinion though, and those are the reasons that the game isn't higher on the list. Still, I adore this game for everything it accomplished. It introduced new characters, a lot of new lore, and brought the series back to its survival horror roots. And being that both Ethan and Mia will be in RE8, I'm looking forward to seeing what else they do with the characters. Just please don't make it first person again. You give me Survivor flashbacks with that shit. That's what Survivor did to me, Capcom! Ugh. Sorry. Resident Evil Survivor. It is my Vietnam. Moving on. At number 7 is Resident Evil 3, the recent remake that just came out last week. I have to be honest here, guys. I really loved this game. I had a great time playing it. Perfecting the perfect dodge is a pain, but once you get it down, it's really fun to do. Jill is more badass and sexy than ever before. Carlos went from an annoying character that I hated in the original game to a character that I wanted more of in this one. Honestly, here's hoping this isn't the last we see of him. The UBCS characters with Carlos get more screen time, the boss fights are a ton of fun, and the game just looks gorgeous. I loved this remake, and I love it even more playing it on the harder modes. The modes for this go beyond hardcore, with Nightmare Mode and Inferno Mode. The game also comes with an entirely new online game, Resident Evil Resistance, which is pretty fun in itself. It's more of a time-based game than a story-based game, but as a replacement for Mercenaries mode, I certainly wasn't complaining being given an entirely separate game. Now, there have been many complaints about this remake that I simply don't get. Let's run down all of them right now. They cut content! Yeah, they did that with the RE2 remake and no one complained. They added new stuff for you to do to give you, I don't know, a new experience. Shouldn't you want that from a remake instead of just the same thing again? The game is too linear. Too linear? Too linear. Okay. Are you the same people calling this game, this fucking game, you know, this one, this entirely linear fucking experience with little to no backtracking, the best game in the series? Are you those people? The ones calling this game the best? Can we please start having consistency in arguments? That would be awesome. Thank you, you're a delight. The game is too short. Okay, I'm going to say this. Yeah. Once you've played through any Resident Evil game the first time, and I want to be clear about this, every Resident Evil game is short. Despite all the content in the game, there are people who can beat the remake of RE2 in well under 2 hours. I know, I've seen me do it. But I'm sorry, that is not a fair criticism in the slightest. And, oh, let's go on to my personal favorite complaint. It's not worth $60! You're telling me you literally got 2 amazing looking and playable games for $60 and you're complaining? You know, yeah, screw it. Al Bundy, you want to take this one?
Why doesn't the world die?
Yeah, thanks, Al. Yeah, Nemesis shows up in scripted moments of the game, but the game also had to do something different from the original to justify it being a remake. You know, like the last 2 remakes did. If you just wanted the same thing again, play the original. That didn't go anywhere. You can still play it if you prefer it, but that doesn't make this a bad game just because you like the original more. RE2 did the same thing. They basically turned Mr. X into Nemesis in that game, stalking you throughout the police station and many other areas. Keep in mind, in the original RE2, Mr. X only showed up in scripted moments of the B scenarios. So yeah, they pretty much switched the roles of these 2 characters to change things up, and I'm okay with that. I wanted something new and creative, and that's what I got. I also love all the references to the Alien series that are sprinkled throughout the game. Then again, that's really nothing new for the franchise. Connection? Hell, even William Hope, the actor who played Lieutenant Gorman in Aliens, did the motion capture for both Mikhail and Nathaniel Bard.
And I must say, this man really loves blowing himself up.
Get off my train. Shitbird!
And it goes without saying, I am pro any Alien cast member being in any RE game under any circumstances. Please give this man a role, please give this man a role, please give this man a role, please give this man a role. So yeah, I really don't understand the hatred being hurled this game's way. It was clever, it was fun, the gameplay kicked ass, it gave both Jill and Carlos a lot more personality than they've ever had in the past, and Nemesis is still a damn intimidating force of nature to be reckoned with. Suffice it to say, this was a very good remake that has sadly gone very unappreciated. Speaking of unappreciated, number 6 is Resident Evil 0. This is a game I've always loved playing, and I only recently discovered a few months back that some people really hate it. That just came as a shock to me because, in terms of what it does for Rebecca and Resident Evil lore in general, I thought it was a pretty awesome prequel to RE1 and a great companion piece to the RE1 remake. Admittedly, there are 2 things I don't like in the game, and I'll get to that in a bit, but let's talk about the positives first. I loved seeing what happened to Rebecca and Bravo team before Rebecca wound up in the mansion. I thought Billy Cohen was a really cool character with a rich backstory, and I'm kind of upset we didn't get to see him in anything after this. Granted, he's a character wanted for murder and would probably want to stay hidden, but still, it feels like they wasted a good opportunity for a spin-off game. The gameplay is what I hear irks a lot of people, and I can kind of understand. I mean, there's no item boxes in this game, and if you need to open up inventory, you have to leave the item wherever you are at that moment. However, I felt it added some realism to the gameplay. And honestly, as a veteran of this series, I don't mind backtracking for shit. You can switch between Rebecca and Billy at any time and share items as needed, and if you get good at the game, you'll learn what to share, what to carry, and won't have to do too much backtracking. Dr. Marcus and the leeches were effectively creepy, the game carried over the same atmosphere from the RE1 remake, which was welcome, and the ending felt a bit like the ending of the original RE3, which was great. In addition, I love all the cutscenes. They are just gorgeous and dripping with atmosphere, drama, and tension. Like 5, I consider this game very underrated. Now, onto the 2 things I don't like. First of all, Birkin being complicit in Dr. Marcus's death did not sit well with me. It kind of removes all the sympathy you had for him in RE2 as a researcher who was wronged by Umbrella. I understand the whole what goes around comes around concept they were going for, but they could have made him a little less evil in my opinion. Also, the boss fights are serviceable, but that's all they are. They're just serviceable. I mean, come on, a giant scorpion on a train? That's just dumb. Other than that, this is one I feel doesn't get enough attention and is well worth revisiting. At number 5 for me is the original Resident Evil 3. Yeah, as much as I love the remake and appreciate everything new that it did, I do think the original is still better. And I say that as someone who appreciates the more old school gameplay, but that's just me. It's the game that introduced Nemesis, the most royal pain in the ass to ever be conceived by gaming devs, and gave Jill more of a chance to shine. Admittedly, I do think the remake did a few things better. And no, I don't mean the graphics, that's just not a fair comparison. However, as an overall experience, the original has the upper hand. You can move through more of Raccoon City, there's more puzzles to solve, and the game actually gives you choices to determine how the ending will play out, giving it more of a replay value. The replay value of the remake is the different set of difficulties, but the replay value of this is more story-based, which gives it more of an identity. I don't think it's the best game in the series like a lot of people do, but it's a damn great one and a PlayStation classic. It has some of the most memorable cutscenes of the series in my opinion, and I love the ammo crafting tool that it implements. After all these years, it's still a ton of fun to play. Again, make no mistake, I loved the remake of this game. But there are some times where overall, you just can't beat the original. At number 4 for me is Resident Evil 2 2019. I can't even begin to describe how much I love this game. I bought this game a year ago on release day, I still play it often, and I'm never bored with it. The way they reimagined the original RE2 within the RE engine was so unique and breathtaking. Like 7, it brought the series back to its survival horror roots. That claustrophobic atmosphere of the RE games of old were back in such a cool way. I love the redesigns of the characters, both Claire and Leon's stories are a lot of fun to play. I love the dismemberment system with the zombies. I mean, when you shoot a zombie in the face with a shotgun, it looks like you shot a zombie in the face with a shotgun. The whole dismemberment system for the zombies just kicks ass. The game offers a lot of new scenarios for the characters and even redesigns a lot of scenarios from the original game for the fans. It's familiar, but different, and offers something very new for the player to experience. Mr. X is more horrifying here than he ever was in the original game. He stalks you everywhere, and let me just say this, anything that can make your heart practically stop just at the sound of footsteps is scary as hell in my book. The cutscenes, the gameplay, the perspectives, and the characters made for one awesome and horrifying remake that is rightfully beloved by fans. The trophies you earn in the game are very challenging. Honestly, if you want to get really good at this game on hardcore, I'd recommend checking out the Everyman guides provided by Darkness on his channel. The videos are funny and informative, and if you want a good understanding of how not to waste your ammo too early, I'd highly recommend them. Truth be told, I do have 2 issues with the game, but I'm gonna wait to talk about them in the number 3 spot. And at number 3, obviously, is the original Resident Evil 2 from 1998. The sequel to the original classic has Leon S. Kennedy, a rookie cop, and Claire Redfield, the sister of Chris Redfield, surviving a zombie outbreak in Raccoon City. Along the way, we meet Ada Wong, a mysterious woman who may or may not know more than she's letting on, and Sherry Birkin, the daughter of the scientist who unwittingly caused the zombie outbreak. Resident Evil 2 greatly improved upon the original, with better weapons, more dangerous enemies, and more interesting environments. It does what a great sequel should do, offering more for the player, while also keeping true to the survival horror spirit of the original. In terms of sequels, RE2 is pretty much the cream of the crop, and a damn near flawless game. If I have any complaints, it's that the boss battles are way too easy, the one exception being the tyrant fight at the end of the B scenarios. This was something the remake definitely improved on. However, the main reason I consider this a more satisfying experience over the remake is that, unlike the remake, the scenarios for the characters actually match up. This was the biggest gripe I had with that remake. The stories do not coincide with one another and don't make sense together. Here, yeah, there are a couple of puzzles that overlap, but the scenarios for both characters actually match up pretty well, giving you 2 very different experiences overall. In addition, with the exception of Mr. X's theme, I found the music in the remake of 2 to be pretty generic. I never play it anymore without the music from the original game. I was so happy when it came with the deluxe package. The music in the original RE2 is suspenseful, memorable, and at times absolutely horrifying. Now, like I said for 3, I may love the remake, but again, sometimes you just can't beat the original. Except for my number 2 pick, that definitely beat the original. At number 2 for me is the remake of the original Resident Evil from 2002. This game is an absolute masterpiece of survival horror, and deserves nothing but the love and praise it's received over the years. I recently did a live stream of this game on my channel, and I had the best time revisiting it. The atmosphere, the visuals, the updated dialogue, the cutscenes, everything about this game was perfection. I loved all of the elements it brought to the table. The added-on Lisa Trevor story is one of the most heartbreaking things in the RE lore if you actually read the files. Jill and Chris are much better characters this time around, and the look of the mansion is just incredible. I know a lot of people recently have been hating on the tank controls, but I'm sorry, I fucking love the tank controls, and guess what? If you've been a longtime follower of this series, so did you. There is nothing wrong with the tank controls, especially in this game. The angles of the mansion actually allow you to take in all the atmosphere surrounding the game. It's so beautiful. Resident Evil 2002 is survival horror at its finest and in its purest form. And number 1, you haven't seen it yet, so I'm sure you've probably guessed that it's Resident Evil Code Veronica. Yes, Code Veronica is my favorite game in this series. Let me explain. With most Resident Evil games, I can play it and always get better. But I'll pretty much have the same experience each time, with very few exceptions. Sometimes they hold up better playing them again, sometimes they don't age well for me at all. But with Code Veronica, I have a completely different experience each time I play it, and it always holds up for me. This is mainly because, and I'm not exaggerating on this is the hardest Resident Evil game ever made, especially when it comes to the boss battles. This game always keeps me on my toes, worrying if I'm gonna die around the corner, and always worrying about conserving my ammo. Hell, there are some items that if you discard at the beginning of the game, you won't get through the rest of it. It's a pain in the ass, but in a frightening way. The presentation of this game is awesome. I love Rockfort Island. It's so creepy, tense, and dripping with pure atmosphere. Whether it be the creepy house in the hill, the Antarctic base, the military facility, everything about the production design of this game is top notch. At the time, it brought RE to the next level with the 3D backgrounds. Most of it was no longer pre-rendered, and the scenery could move along with the player. And yes, I know a lot of people complain that Code Veronica is too hard and they gave up halfway through, but I'm sorry, this is survival horror. It should be fucking hard. If the game was too easy, it would just be run-of-the-mill. But part of its charm is just how challenging it is. And I love that as a Resident Evil fan. The bigger the challenge, the more rewarding it feels. Claire Redfield is a badass in this game. She is and always will be my favorite Resident Evil character, and I wish more games featured her. I mean, this is a main series entry, and felt like the true sequel to RE2 that we should have gotten. But out of all the numbered entries, Claire only appears in Resident Evil 2. Yeah, kinda sad to be honest. Story-wise, the game adds a lot to RE lore, the biggest thing being the return of Albert Wesker to the series with his newfound powers. Wesker just rocks in this game, and I love how he wipes the floor with Chris at the end. This was the game that really cemented the rivalry and hatred between these two characters, and for fans of Resident Evil, that's a pretty big thing that would carry over into not only Resident Evil 5, but RE6 as well when Chris confronts Wesker's son. And also, we finally have a wrap-up to Claire's story arc in RE2, as she has finally located her brother. Being able to play as both Redfield characters in the same game was a real treat. The boss battles in this game are awesome and full of tension. The final fight with Alexia is insanely hard, but again, so rewarding when you finally complete it. I'll never forget the reveal of Nosferatu in the game, coming out of fog like something out of Silent Hill. And I even love the Psycho references with Alfred Ashford and his sister. It's so creepy and fits the story so well. Now, I will address one other complaint about this game, other than the fact that it's hard. That being Steve. Let's get this out of the way. Yes, Steve can be annoying. Steve is kinda creepy when it comes to Claire sometimes. Here's the thing. What people tend to leave out about this when they discuss it is the simple fact that, well, he's a 17-year-old fucking kid. Of course he's gonna be annoying. He's trying to impress the hot woman who just came into his life. That's what horny teenagers do. He's still proactive in the game, he still kicks ass when he has to, and he even saves Claire on multiple occasions. Shit, give Steve some credit, he's not a useless fucking waif like Ashley. Fuck this bitch! Sorry, the fuck this bitch was brewing in me for a while. Anyway, Code Veronica is a game that sadly slips under the radar, and we really need to turn this shit around. It's fun, it's challenging, it's unique, it has a ton to the lore, and when it wants to be, it's effectively scary and full of tension. Code Veronica is the best RE game I've ever played, the best RE experience I've ever had, and I look forward to every new experience I have with it down the line. So how would you rank these 12 games? Please let me know in the comments, and please subscribe if you'd like to see more.